Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast on the Class. Breakfast on the Class today is sponsored anonymously in the Zechut of Simcha and Sarah Weissman, who just had a baby girl. Mazal Tov. Mazal Tov to the Weissman and Birch families. And Refuah Shlema Sarah Bat Alta Rivka, the Yoledet. Chazak Baruch, thank you very much. Let us begin. Birshut Avi Mori, in the Rishut of my father. I'd like to share with you some words today, which are related effectively to the thrust not only of our parasha, not only of our sefer, of the whole new book we're about to begin in the Torah, but also to the time in which we find ourselves. Ela Devarim, these are the words that Moshe spoke to the Jewish people Lifnei Moto, before he passes away. We know that how long is Moshe Rabbeinu? How long does he speak to the Jewish people before he dies? How many days is the speech? 37 days, my father says. Very long speech. They don't give us that long here, Abba. 3.7 maybe. Well, how long we get? 37 minutes is too long. Moshe Rabbeinu speaks for 37 years. How do you get the chance to speak for 37 days? How do you get to speak for 37 days? You have the Matei Elohim that can do all the makot. No one tells you to be quiet. Maybe that's how it works. Okay, my friends, all as a joke. It's a beautiful outpouring of Torah that we're experiencing here in the Beit Knesset. So many different classes. I want to encourage the other classes that are going on right now not to hesitate to study Torah while we're talking. That's why I have a microphone. Otherwise, I'd be speaking normally. So if you have a class or you're learning Gemara in the corner, don't hesitate to learn Gemara while we're giving the class. So much Torah can be done simultaneously. So let's take a look, and we're going to learn something beautiful together. The Torah tells us that Moshe Rabbeinu gives this 37-day speech. And what is in the speech? The speech is Moshe Rabbeinu effectively teaching the Jewish people the lessons of the last 40 years in the desert, of everything that came before. And really, he wants them, with this message, to go through the rest of their lives, through the ups and downs of moving into Eretz Israel, fighting for the land of Israel, and really even through Galut. All of the stories, everything that we hear in Devarim is really meant to be is to future-proof the Jewish people. And how do you future-proof a person? What does what future-proof means? Anyone ever heard that term? So when you come home from the hospital with your first baby, like the Weissman, I don't know if it's a first, come on, a baby, what do? You got to make sure the house is baby-proof. So if you have a low table, a coffee table, the table can't have corners. If there's plugs, you got to make sure that you shove the plastic item in the plugs, they don't stick the finger in, right? If there's, poison, underneath the sink, all the cleaning products that have the skull and crossbones on them, you got to take them out and make sure that they're inaccessible. If there's pills, that's baby-proofing a house. How do you future-proof a nation? You protect them from all the things that are going to destroy them in the future. So if you want to future-proof your children, what do? You teach them financial responsibility. You teach them how to make sure who to date, who to marry. You teach them all the things that you would teach someone in the last moments of your life. Our Chachamim, however, looked at this speech with a little bit of a different lens, like they always do. Say the Chachamim as follows. Moshe Rabbeinu waited to give the Jewish people Tochacha until right before he died. And why did he do that? Why did he wait so long to give them Tochacha? Tochacha means rebuke. He waited to rebuke them, to tell them that you did this wrong, and you did this wrong, and you did this wrong. He waited. Why did he wait so long? And the rabbis give many different answers to why waiting till a person passes away is the right time for Tochacha. I'll give you one example. One example of the answer that they give is that a child is liable to think that the reason why the father's correcting him, the reason why the father's telling him you did this is because of his ego. You ever meet someone who's correcting you, not for you, but for their own ego? I had a guy the other day in Beit Knesset. He's sitting in the back left corner of the shul. I'm sitting in the front right of the shul. Across the whole shul, he waits for a quiet moment and then goes, hey. I would wager that that's less about my tefillin being 1 millimeter across and more about the entire synagogue seeing him tell a rabbi how to put on his tefillin. Because if you cared about my tefillin, you would come up to me and you'd say quietly, or you'd move it yourself, the idea to draw all the attention, then give the tochacha publicly. What does that say? That your motivation is not about the other guy. It's about getting some street cred. Because you told, I was in the shul today, told the rabbi how to put on his tefillin. Guy had it by his ear, didn't know what he was doing. Anyway, my friends, one idea is you give tochacha before you pass away. You know why? Because that's not a time of ego. That's not a time of ego. That's not when you're thinking about your kavod. So the person is liable to take it more because they think it's genuine. Second idea, our rabbis tell us that when a person is about to pass away, they have no future. So sometimes when someone's telling you off, you might think to yourself, they're doing it for their benefit. So imagine a father tells his son, listen, how about maybe you can have that tells me, you know, you should really jump up and go get water because of kibud avayim. I might think it's not kibud avayim as much as you want a cup of water. But when someone's about to pass away, the tochacha that they give, it can't be for their future benefit. The guy's about to moot. So therefore, what do we say? It's a good time for tochacha. Many different reasons like this, why before a person passes away, it's a good time to gather the children around. And by the way, who does it in the Torah other than Moshe? Yaakov Avinu. I can't ask questions because I have over here picked up the guy knows all the answers. He gave me the questions and the answers. Yaakov Avinu says, while he's giving them a beracha, what does he do to Reuven? Bahas kamayim. Don't rush so much. Don't be so quick to make those decisions. Okay? Shimon and Levi, Klei Hamas. You know, to him, you know, you stole the tools of your uncle Esav. We're called Yaakov people. We're not Yadayim de Esav people. So by the way, you see, even then, there were people who said, we're called Yaakov people. Either way, my friends, if you take a look, you'll see that this idea, this mechanism of giving tochacha before someone passes away has a lot of benefits. But my friends, I think a lot of you are thinking, I went to a class to the rabbi this morning, and I got great advice for when I'm about to die, Badman. I don't plan on doing that for a long time. The answer is, my friends, from the answers of the Chachamim and the interpretations of why, before a person passes away, that's a good time to do tochacha, we learn how to give tochacha even when you're not going to wait until you pass. So if the point is that the person suspects that your tochacha is for personal benefit, one of the lessons we're learning is, if you're going to give tochacha today, not wait until you're about to pass away, make sure you give it in a way where the person sees that it's not about personal benefit. If it could be about ego, make sure it's given in a way where it's clear that there's no ego benefit in giving it over. It's quietly between the two of you. You're praising the person as you give it. But my friends, I think there's one other beautiful lesson that we could learn in this story of tochacha before a person passes. And that is as follows. Moshe Rabbeinu is not a good example. I don't mean he's not a good example as a person. I mean he's not a good example for this limud. Because let me ask you, why did Moshe wait until right before he passed away to give them tochacha? We have a famous teaching from Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar used to say, a person should do Teshuva Yom Echad Lefnei Moto. You should do Teshuva one day before you die. What did the Gemara says? That would be wonderful to know what day, on Tuesday, what day, when exactly what day I'm going to pass away. But who knows what day you're going to pass away? Answers the Gemara. Exactly. You have to do Teshuva every day. Because mi yodeya ma yeled yom. Who knows what today is going to bring, what tomorrow is going to bring. So you always have to be doing Teshuva because you don't know if you're going to pass away tomorrow. Moshe Rabbeinu is a bad example for this idea. If you're trying to teach me that a person should give tochacha before they pass away, Moshe knew that God wouldn't let him die without knowing. So Moshe was comfortable to wait. But you and me, how can we wait? We don't know when we're going to go. So what are we learning from here? That you give tochacha every day in your life? It's the exact opposite of the lesson. The answer is, my friends, that we can't wait because we don't know. So what's the lesson for me and you? One answer to that is, learn the lessons of tochacha lifnei mitah and give that kind of tochacha every day when you give tochacha, or every time you have to give tochacha. But I'd like to share a second lesson, maybe a more poignant lesson. You have to give tochacha yom echad lifnei moto. What happens? Maybe I won't know. What we're learning here is, if you're not sure if your tochacha is going to land, if you're worried it's going to be taken in the wrong way, maybe better not to say anything at all. A bad tochacha, a tochacha that the person is resentful, a tochacha that the person doesn't see that you have their best interests, a tochacha, how does it work? It doesn't, not only does it not help, it makes the situation worse. So what are we learning from Moshe Rabbeinu? But we don't know when you're going to pass away. That's the point. So the same way with regards to Teshuva, we said, that means you should do Teshuva every day. With regards to tochacha, we see it exactly the opposite direction. My friends, I give one last piece before I sign off. The Pasuk talks about God also guiding us, God also rebuking us. But it says something really beautiful. Kasher yaser, the same way, ish et beno, a person gives tochacha, teaches, rebukes, disciplines his child, so too Hashem Elohecha yaserecha. When God gives punishment, does God ever punish? Ever? Because He wants to get you? Does He ever punish you just because He's angry? In every single instance of Hashem's punishment, the whole purpose is, like we say the word Yisurim, we know it means, but menan, terrible things that come to a person. But the word Yisur comes from the root of the word Sar, which means to turn. Yisurim, the punishments, the difficulties in our lives, are meant only to help us turn, to go on the right path. So we see that God's punishments are always constructive. If you're angry, or you're hurt, or you're humiliated, and you want to give someone tochacha, before you open your mouth, think to yourself, instead of this being so I feel better, how can I make this so that he'll be better? If you can ask yourself that question, then you can fulfill the concept of giving tochacha lifnei moto, even if lifnei moto is many, many, many years in the future, inshallah.